Deep beneath one of ancient Egypt's most sacred temple complexes lies a structure unlike anything else in the region. Massive stone blocks, perfectly fitted, surrounded by water, and built in a style that feels completely out of place. This is the Osireion. Discovered in the early 20th century, the Osireion has puzzled archaeologists ever since. Why was it built underground? Why does it look so different from nearby structures? And what purpose did it truly serve? To understand this, we have to go deeper into one of Egypt's most mysterious sites. Abydos, a sacred land. To understand the Osireion, we first need to understand where it is. The structure lies in Abydos, one of the oldest and most important religious centers in ancient Egypt. For thousands of years, Abydos was associated with one of Egypt's most powerful and enduring myths, the story of Osiris. Osiris was the god of the afterlife, resurrection, and rebirth. According to Egyptian belief, he was killed, dismembered, and later restored, becoming ruler of the underworld. Abydos was believed to be the place where Osiris was buried, or at least symbolically connected to his burial. Because of this, it became a major pilgrimage site. Pharaohs built temples there, priests conducted rituals, and ordinary Egyptians traveled long distances just to be spiritually connected to Osiris. Among these constructions is the Temple of Seti I, one of the most beautifully decorated temples in Egypt. And directly behind it, hidden below ground, lies the Osireion. Discovery of the Osireion. The Osireion wasn't always visible. For centuries, it remained buried under sand and debris. It was only in the early 1900s that British archaeologist Flinders Petrie and later Margaret Murray began uncovering the structure. As excavation progressed, something unexpected emerged. This wasn't just another chamber, it was massive. The central hall was constructed using enormous blocks of granite, some weighing many tons. These stones were not decorated like typical temple walls. They were plain, precise, and placed with remarkable accuracy. At the center of the structure was an island-like platform surrounded by a channel of water. And unlike the brightly decorated Temple of Seti I nearby, this structure felt older, heavier, more ancient. Architectural mystery. One of the first things researchers noticed was the construction style. The Osireion is built using megalithic stone blocks, large, carefully shaped stones similar to those seen in some of Egypt's oldest monuments. But here's what made it unusual. The surrounding temple, Seti I's temple, was built in a more refined, decorated style typical of the New Kingdom period. The Osireion, however, looked more primitive in appearance, but not in skill. In fact, the precision of the stonework suggests a high level of engineering. The walls are aligned with geometric accuracy. The blocks fit tightly together, and the layout appears carefully planned. This contrast led to one of the biggest questions. Was the Osireion built at the same time as the temple, or does it belong to an earlier period? Was it older? Some early researchers believed the Osireion might be far older than the Temple of Seti I. Their reasoning was based on the construction style, the massive stone blocks, and the underground layout. However, most modern Egyptologists agree that the Osireion was built during the reign of Seti I, around the 13th century BCE. Supporting evidence includes inscriptions found within the structure that connect it to Seti I. So why does it look older? One explanation is that the Osireion was intentionally designed to resemble more ancient structures. This would make sense symbolically, because the structure is associated with Osiris, the god of the ancient past, death, and rebirth. In other words, it was meant to feel timeless. The water mystery. Even today, the central chamber is often partially flooded. This is not decorative. It is a result of groundwater from the surrounding area. But this raises an interesting question. Was the structure originally designed with water in mind? Some researchers believe the water may have had symbolic meaning. In Egyptian mythology, water is closely associated with creation, the primordial waters from which life emerged. The central island surrounded by water could represent the creation mound, the birthplace of the gods, a symbolic connection to rebirth. In this context, the Osireion becomes more than a building. It becomes a representation of the afterlife itself. Purpose of the Osireion. So what was the Osireion actually used for? There are several theories, but one of the most widely accepted is this. It was a symbolic tomb of Osiris, not a real burial site, but a ritual space, a place where priests could perform ceremonies related to death, resurrection, and the journey to the afterlife. The underground location reinforces this idea. Descending into the structure could symbolize entering the underworld. The water could represent the boundary between life and death, and the central platform could represent rebirth. This aligns with the religious importance of Abydos. Science versus speculation. Over the years, the Osireion has attracted a wide range of interpretations. Some claim it is evidence of lost civilizations. Others suggest it represents advanced ancient engineering beyond what is commonly accepted. But it's important to separate speculation from evidence. There is no verified evidence that the Osireion was built by a lost or unknown civilization. There is no indication of technology beyond what ancient Egyptians were capable of. What we do have is a unique structure, built with known techniques, designed with symbolic meaning. The mystery lies not in impossible explanations, but in understanding why it was built this way. Why it still puzzles us. Even with modern research, the Osireion remains unusual. It doesn't match typical temple designs. It doesn't fit neatly into known categories, and its underground nature makes it difficult to study fully. But perhaps that's the point. Ancient Egyptian architecture was not only functional, it was deeply symbolic. Not everything was meant to be obvious. Some structures were designed to represent ideas, beliefs, and journeys, and the Osireion may be one of the clearest examples of this. The Osireion is not just a structure, it is a question carved in stone. A reminder that even in a civilization we think we understand, there are still pieces that don't fully fit, not because they are impossible, but because they were built with meanings we are still trying to interpret. And perhaps that's what makes it so fascinating, not what lies beneath it, but what it represents. If you want more real, evidence-based history like this, subscribe, because the past still has more to reveal.